We start Chapter 5 with a little section on midsegments. Most of you probably haven't dealt with midsegments before, but it isn't too rough. A midsegment of a triangle is a segment which connects the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Here is an example. This line segment connects the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. But that isn't the only possible midsegment. This is another midsegment in this triangle. It connects up two different midpoints of the sides of the triangle. And yes, there is a third midsegment too. This is the third midsegment of this triangle. Each triangle will always have three midsegments, and often you will have two or three of them drawn in all at once, like it is here. So that's what midsegments of a triangle are. Time to see how they will be used. For most theorems, you generally have an if-then statement, which has a hypothesis, and if that hypothesis is true, then you can draw a single conclusion. You should be very used to that by now. The triangle midsegment theorem is one of the few theorems where you draw multiple conclusions from a single hypothesis. In this case, if the hypothesis is true, then you can conclude two things. Some of you may prefer a flowchart visualization, but we have a single hypothesis and we reach two different conclusions. So now let's look at the actual triangle midsegment theorem and see this one theorem with multiple conclusions. The triangle midsegment theorem says that if a segment joins the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, then the segment is parallel to the third side and half as long as the third side. There are your two conclusions. Some of you may like it better if you think about it like this. If you have a midsegment, there are two conclusions. First, you know that the midsegment is parallel to the third side. In the picture, that means that these are parallel. That's the first conclusion. The second thing we know about the midsegment is that it is half as long as the third side. So as an example, if you know that the length of the midsegment is 10, then the second conclusion says we know 10 is half as long as the third side, so that third side must have a length of 20. That's all there is to this section. You just need to be able to identify midsegments and know that midsegments are parallel and half as long as the third side. We're starting off Chapter 5 pretty easy.